Now, let's talk about the cause of the Great Depression. You say, well, what difference does it make? Why would we need to talk about the Great Depression? It's pretty important because a lot of history has been documented, been written down about it, stories and so on. But Ben Bernanke, the current Fed chairman, gave a speech back in 2002. And Ben Bernanke was not chairman of the Fed back then. He was a governor, but he wasn't the chairman. He was sought after as a public speaker and so on because he was a very knowledgeable historian, especially on the Great Depression and the crash of 1929. And so he gave a speech in 2002 at the University of Chicago, the occasion of which was Milton Friedman's, the famous economist's, birthday. And there he was at the University of Chicago amongst Milton Friedman friends and supporters and colleagues and so on. And in a shocking statement, and of course I have to back up and say Milton Friedman had been highly critical of the Fed for having caused the Great Depression in the first place by the withdrawal of credit arbitrarily. And he claimed that that's what caused the Great Depression. It's always been denied by the Fed that they had anything whatsoever to do with the Great Depression. But in a shocking statement by Ben Bernanke in 2002, he said, "You're right. We did it. We're very sorry. But thanks to you," that is Milton Friedman and all his work documenting it, "we won't do it again." So this is a direct admission by the current chairman of the Fed that the Fed was responsible for creating the Great Depression. You're right. We did it. We're very sorry. An incredible admonition. But it has huge implications today because the question is, what role does the Fed have today in Great Depression 2? Can't answer that totally, but we know one thing about it. The people, the players in the world today, the global banks, the global corporations, and so on, they love to privatize their profits. In other words, they love to keep the profits for themselves and pay fat executive bonuses. But when the losses get hot, they like to socialize the losses. In other words, get us to pay for the losses while they get to keep the profits. Something is wrong with this, I think. Fannie and Freddie, Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac were nationalized, of course. Two very good examples, huge companies. They own half of the mortgage market in America. AIG, the giant insurance company, was nationalized. We won't talk about the wheres and the whys. You've seen it in the news. You know it's true. And then a $700 billion bailout bill came along, which is now swollen to at least $3 trillion. And we have, overall, Paulson and Bernanke acting as if they were receivers in a bankruptcy proceeding. You just have to think about it yourself and see if you're up with me on my observation of it. They seem to be acting like they are receivers, or like they're controlling a receivership of a bankrupt country, except it's a country, not a company. You understand? So this has been the bottom line. The policy is privatizing the profits and socializing the losses. The result of this is that the middle class has gotten absolutely hammered. 2.5 million homes will enter foreclosure in 2008. There's nothing the government can do to stop it at this point. They're trying a bailout, but it hasn't happened yet. Versus 1.5 million in 2007. And since 2006, when the real estate crash really started in earnest, it's estimated the loss has been somewhere around $4.2 trillion. Now you have, since the October 2000 high, the U.S. stock market has crashed unbelievably so, and collectively the U.S. stocks have lost $18.5 trillion. Total equity loss for that period of time is about $22.7 trillion, and I don't think we're erring on the low side here. It's probably higher, but that equates to about $220 plus $5,000 per household in America. You say, well, there's 1.1 million households in America. Do the math. No wonder people feel like they are really underwater. Even if they haven't sold their house, even if they haven't cashed out of their 401ks, even if they haven't sold their stocks and their portfolios, say, well, it's only paper losses. That's true, but the losses are real enough because you can't take those assets to the bank anymore and borrow money against them. You can't sell them for what you paid. So the losses are real. It's just that people haven't had to change their lifestyle enough yet to reflect that reality. But the middle class has gotten decimated in just a period of 18 months. It's absolutely amazing. Now I'm going to switch gears here. We're 40 minutes into our presentation. I'm going to switch gears just for a minute here. And I want to talk about the markets just for a bit. I want to talk about the stock market. I want to talk about gold. I want to talk about the dollar. Back in August of this year, some of you that were in on the financial webinar that I did back then will know that, remember that I forecasted an extremely sharp downward movement in stocks, and there was a virtual collapse in stocks. And this, when I say in August, this was back here at this time frame, probably. So I get my little highlighter going here again. This was around this time right here, August 15 or so, when I made that first forecast. And you can see what's happened here in the process. It's been a huge, huge drop. It's been, well, people aren't quite jumping out of the windows yet, but it's been very, very serious. The damage it's done to hedge funds, to portfolios, to 401ks, and so on. It's just been absolutely amazing. And the good news to this is, I suppose, if there's any good news, not very good news at all. Even though we expect another leg down in this, it will become the fifth wave down from the top. You can see wave number one here. You can see the recovery here. You can see the third wave here, which is often the strongest and most devastating. You can see a move back up here is 4. We're expecting one more to the downside. When this next wave down is exhausted itself, there likely will be, and this could happen in December, maybe even this month yet, but probably around December at the latest. Very likely we'll see a substantial bear market rally as a counter move that will bring averages and stuff back up considerably from this steep drop that we've seen here. So I wouldn't call that, it's not the best news we ever had, but nothing goes down forever. And, the market goes up, market goes down. Even at the head of this, you see wave 1 down, there was a pretty good recovery from it, over 50%. So it's not impossible that we would see a recovery of this entire move of maybe 30 to 50% before it decides to head down again. The bad news is we're still in a bear market. We'll continue to be in a bear market for at least 3 to 4, possibly even 5 years. It's going to be much more ugly than it is pretty along the way. But in the short term, we can expect some recovery probably in the averages. And where that would be, I can't tell you, but I'm just telling you, while everybody's saying sell, sell, sell down at the very bottom, that will probably be the time when you can see, when you'll see a reversal and the thing will take off in the other direction.